Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Sunday Politics, live on Channels Television. I am Sean Wakimale here in Abuja. Tonight we begin our conversation on the progression upon which our country is traveling. There are several issues brought in on the state of the nation. From the latest scale of defection we see happening in some states and to the state of the economy, the purchasing power of the average citizen, and the control of the security apparatus under the present government and President Tinubu's watch. One man who speaks his mind and sometimes gets into trouble is my guest tonight on the program. He's a lawyer, author, and political activist. Mr. Dele Farotimi is live for us in Lagos. Thank you so much, Mr. Farotimi, for joining us tonight on the program.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you for having me.
It's the first time I'm speaking with you since your ordeal on the defamation lawsuit. I imagine that lawsuit has been rested, it was halted, and have you found peace? And I'm imagining that all has been altered and finalized right now, isn't it?
Several points of correction. Number one, there was no ordeal. I went away on a holiday, even though it wasn't one I would have picked for myself. Number two, there wasn't a lawsuit. I was maliciously hauled away from this very seat to Ekiti State without the warrant of law. But that's another story for another day. But as far as having peace, I'm completely at peace. There's nothing that makes you sleep better than a clear conscience. I'm fine, thank you.
Have you made peace with the complainant?
Oh, I was never at war with the complainant. He was perhaps unhappy with me, but I am told that some do-gooders, good Samaritans have gone to see him and he has stopped being so angry with me. So I was never angry with him. I wasn't even angry with the idea of being hauled to prison. It was just good rest.
Well, in all, you are thankful to those who mediated in the matter, which had laid that matter to rest now.
Let's be very clear about something. Like every other Nigerian, I woke up to hear that some people went to see Ariafe Babalola to appeal to him. They did not mediate. Mediation would suggest that some people spoke with me, heard my own side, and then spoke with Are, and after that, found peace between two warring parties. Number one, there was never any war between myself and the revered Are. He was the one who had problems with what I wrote. Number two, nobody consulted me before going to him. I sent nobody to him. I know nothing about the trip to him. But even as the Bible says, blessed are the peacemaker. So they made peace of their own accord, not at my instance. I knew nothing about it. I read about it in the newspaper like every other Nigerian.
So have you moved on? Have you made peace on this particular issue? Have you moved on? Have you made peace?
To be frank with you, when you use the word peace, let me continue to reassert that I was always at peace. But when it comes to demanding an account of those who have perverted the powers of the state in pursuit of a private cause, you can be certain of one thing. Some people will account for my incarceration. But that is not a matter for banter. That is something for the courts to decide. You will recall that even though 2 criminal cases were filed against me at the instance of Afe Babalola and co., both charges were withdrawn. But there are still 4 civil suits filed across the country, one in Port Harcourt, one in Abuja, one in Ogun State, and one in Oyo State, filed by members of the same law offices, at the same law office. So even though the criminal suit has been withdrawn, the civil suits are there, and what I would elect to do in response to my incarceration is another ball game entirely, but you can take it to the bank. I will certainly be demanding an account from those who sent me to prison.
So, in clear terms, you are going to take up the Nigerian police who made your arrest and took you from Lagos to Ekiti. In this case, you are instituting a lawsuit against the Nigerian police. Is that right?
You are the one inferring that. My lawyers will decide who and who are responsible, and they will then proceed to the court. I just know that somebody has to explain to me how I ended up in prison for a civil infraction at best. So insofar as whether it's the police that have to be sued, whether it's the magistrate who sent me to prison, whether it's the persons who wrote the petition, whether it's whoever, but somebody would explain. You see, in law, there is a Latin maxim. We say, ubi jus, ubi remedium. If there is a wrong, there must be a remedy. I went to prison. It is my contention that I was not sent to prison with the due process of law. It is my contention that impunity reigned in sending me to prison. It is my contention that the offense for which I was sent to prison is one that is unknown to law, either in Lagos where I reside or in Ekiti where I was abducted to. So if something like this has happened, it can only be expected that I will expect an account from those who have done this. You can take that for granted. Whether it's the police, whether it's private individuals, whether it's the magistrate himself, persons will render an account for locking me up in a prison cell. There must be a basis for it. 21 days of my life was taken from me. That's an entire lifetime. Some people don't live for 21 days. I was sent to prison through a process that purports to be lawful. I want that process to explain itself so that Nigerians would understand how our legal system functions. I hope we're clear. So I'm at peace.
Yeah. So I was going to ask
the system to be accountable.
Yeah. Is there any lesson you perhaps have taken away from those 21 days and this experience altogether?
Just that it just reinforces my belief that the Nigerian legal system is completely unfit for purpose, that the law does not rule in Nigeria, and that the Nigerian is essentially a victim of the rapacious system that pretends to administer law. That is all there is that I have learned from it. It reinforces a lesson. That is all that has happened.
Is it a lesson? Is it a lesson? Yeah, is it, I mean, you say it reinforces. Is it a lesson of regret or a lesson of assurance of a future hope or a lesson of a perpetual disgust about what you have written in the past about the Nigerian system generally?
Look, Sheon, I am not new at this rodeo. I'm 57. That's several lifetimes. In a country like Nigeria, I've already lived beyond the expected lifespan of a man. I am not surprised by what happened to me. It has happened to multiple persons before me. If you pick up the book and you read through it, you'll see that even before I got into the body of the book itself, I made clear that I expected to be persecuted for the things I had to say. So nothing happened to me that I did not expect or anticipate. A day before I was abducted, I addressed a press conference where I made clear exactly what was going to happen based on my knowledge of the system in which I live. So nothing has happened to me that was unexpected or surprising. Nigeria runs a criminal enterprise, and that is what you have seen at play. They say they say you are a thief and you carry a goat, strap it to your back and you are busy dancing. Is it not enough evidence of the fact that you are a thief? I spoke about a criminal justice system and I spoke about the criminality of the system. And the system went ahead and proved each and every word that I have spoken in my book. They said the hunter went to the forest and he killed lions, he killed elephants, and you say, no, he's lying. Then he came into the house. Goats are dying, chicken are dying left and right, and you want more proof. I said the system is criminal, and the system proceeded to illustrate its criminality in full glare of the public. And you think I am overjoyed. The system proves me right. It illustrated everything I said, everything I claimed were done in hiding, were repeated right there in the glare of the public. So how could I be anything but happy that in my lifetime, for my very before, the system is busy proving me right? Mr.
Farotimi,
from the ground.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
By your name, if you are an Opele man, either the one that you are conscious of or the one your parents are conscious of. Yeah, and if Farotimi, so that proverb suits you very perfectly. But I mean, jokes apart, you have gone to court. This is the same court system that you don't believe in. Is that not contradictory or ironic?
You see, you need to understand something, Sheon. I am a man who has weaponized my brain. I don't carry guns. I have no cordials. I have a weaponized brain. A legal system is necessarily required to be transparent. Every time I go to the Nigerian court, I'm actually trying the system. I'm placing the system on trial in front of the people. I want the system to dance azonto for the people. I enjoy having the system strip itself naked in the marketplace and prove each and everything that I say about it. People make up systems. I'm a Nigerian. I didn't come from Ghana. I'm not a saint. Not everybody in the judiciary are saints, but not everybody there are also sinners. And the beautiful thing about the law is that it requires transparency. I will place my case before the court. The court is split in two. There is a court of law, and then there is a court of public opinion. The people have eyes, they have ears, they have brains in their head. They know that 2 + 2 must equal 4 unless something is hiding somewhere. So each time I take a case before the court, I take it before the court conscious of the fact that the system is corrupt. It's not just the persons. I'm not talking persons. I'm talking about a system that is not designed to deliver justice. So that system that is not designed to deliver justice, I enjoy testing it, placing it on trial, putting it before the people and offering it the opportunity to either prove me right or prove me wrong. I'm not afraid to do that. It's the only thing left to me. If I'm not going to do that, I'm going to have to start carrying guns and cordials, and I don't have the capacity to do that. But when it comes to using the law as an instrument of war against a debauched system, count me in every day of the week. It is up to them to decide whether they want to do justice or whether they want to make it business as usual. That is their call, not my own. My own is to test that system and offer them the opportunity to prove that they are capable of delivering justice or confirm that they are useless. It's their call.
So you actually don't think, or you don't believe that the Nigerian court system has a capacity to deliver justice, but you are just trying to patronize it. So in the case that the lawsuit, it was just an exercise for fun, isn't it?
No, you are the one who is describing it as an exercise for fun. The thing about the law is that 2 + 2 can equal 4 in law. It can be an exact science sometimes. Look, I assailed the Nigerian system, but I have never failed to test it. I've always used it in my wars against this system. I think it was in 2023, the Court of Appeal freed me in a charge that was pending over my head, where I had been convicted already, persecuted by the EFCC. It took the Court of Appeal, which I constantly assail, because if there's only one justice that is corrupt in a pool of 100, you have a corrupt judiciary already. But as bad as that judiciary is, I understand and I hold fervently to the belief that it remains the last hope of the common man. Whether it now lives up to that hope is another business entirely. But if I give up on believing in the capacity of the system, it would then mean that I have embraced anarchy. I use the same court to get my freedom from the EFCC. I have personal matters, as we speak today, against multiple agencies of government before the same court systems. That I am criticizing the court system does not mean I hate the courts. I wish it would work better than it is working, but there is no other place to go. The judicial anarchy that I decry every day is because I am worried about the consequences of having a system that we don't have any hope or confidence in. So if I'm criticizing the system, it's for the system to get better, not to destroy it.
So, in this case, do you think things are getting better?
No, it's not. Most definitely not, but we live in hope.
Let me ask you, I described you as a political activist earlier, and I know that you sided with Mr. Peter Obi, although you've told me on some other interviews that you are really not a Labour Party member or a card-carrying member of the Labour Party. But it seems that all is not well with that party that you helped or that you campaigned for or that you sided with in 2023. How does this make you feel, though?
You see, Sheil, I am actually by far more difficult to pin down the way you are trying to. I supported Peter Gregory Obi, but I never supported the Labour Party. And I was very, very specific in constantly reiterating the fact that I am not a member of the Labour Party. I support, or let me use the word, supported Peter Gregory Obi in 2023. The objective realities and the quality of the candidates on the ground conditioned my position. I am a member of Afenifere. Afenifere is a political movement. It supported Peter Obi in conjunction with the Southern and Middle Belt Leaders Forum. So I had multiple political bases for the actions I took in 2023. I am not a member of the Labour Party, and I couldn't care less what happens to the Labour Party.
But is that not, I mean, that doesn't sound right, though. Except if you're saying, just a moment.
No.
Just a moment. Let me land on my question, Mr. Farotimi. The question I was going to ask you is that if you care less about the vehicle in which the man you supported drove to the election, how does it sound? I mean, if that is the same vehicle that Mr. Peter Obi hopes to use in 2027, except if you have said you have given up on Peter Gregory Obi for president, which you have said it was a better candidate at the time. Have you changed your mind about the personality or the candidacy of a Peter Gregory Obi?
You see, Sheil, in Nigeria, when you are discussing any sort of political question, more or less, you have to deal with nuances. Number one, you don't have political parties in Nigeria. You have election platforms. Mr. Peter Obi, I believe, joined the Labour Party only a few months before the election. The Labour Party, since that time, has been busy dancing as Zonto, just like the PDP is also in turmoil. The APC has been the net receiver of the political amajiris and allergies that have been going up and down the place. And in reality, I doubt if anyone outside of the persons who are in the APC and my friends in the AAC, I doubt if anyone can really say this is the political party to which they belong as of today. The reality is that neither the Labour Party nor the PDP is on any sound footing to the point where one can speak to them or of them as political platforms. I don't know where Mr. Peter Obi will be in 2027. I don't know where Nigeria will be in 2027. I don't even know if we would have an election worthy of his name in 2027. The totality of my political focus as we speak today is electoral reform. When we have electoral reform and our votes count, and it's not an INEC that is switching off systems, a court that is declaring a 37th state, and I'm having all kinds of funny things coming out of the judiciary. When we have a meaningful electoral system, not one that is full of delusions like what we were sold by Mahmoud, then I will be interested in 20. See, all this discussion about 2027, they are distractions and a waste of everybody's time. Is there going to even be an election? We've had 5 gubernatorial elections, I believe, since 2023 elections. Each and every one of them have been successively worse than the last. Is it in that kind of condition that I will now be sitting down expecting and planning an election in 2027? Would we even have Nigeria in 2027? The people on the Benue Trough, would they be voting in 2027? The people on the plateau, would they vote in 2027? The people who are dying daily of hunger and avoidable diseases, are they going to vote in 2027? 2027 is a bridge too far for the average Nigerian to even be thinking of climbing. I have no interest whatsoever, and nobody can claim they've heard me talk about 2027. I'm not interested in 2027. I'm interested in surviving now. I'm interested in seeing an electoral process that makes 2027 or any other election make sense. That interests me. But I'm told to be speaking to an election in 2027 in the face of our sickling objective realities, it does not interest me. I'm not excited by it. I'm actually irritated that politicians are busy gallivanting all over the place talking about election in 2027. I think it's brainless, if you ask me. The survival of our country should be paramount.
A part of my question is whether or not you still believe, although you've said that you do not think that 2027 is up for conversation. No, I mean, the part I'm talking about, Mr. Farotimi, is the part that concerns Mr. Peter Obi. Whether you still think, because at the time,
if
you think it was the best thing to happen to that election.
Today, don't worry. If elections we hold today, remember, I don't do linguistic inexactitudes. If elections where our vote will count would hold today, I'll vote Peter Gregory Obi, unless somebody else comes into the race that I believe can do better. If it's still the same lineup as the last time, it is definitely Peter Obi that I'm voting. I would hope that he would be a little bolder with his policy platforms, but frankly speaking, in terms of capacity, in terms of integrity, there is nobody else that I would be supporting. Something drastic has to happen for me to decide that I'm not supporting Peter Obi. It might be that he teamed up with some objectionable persons that I cannot stomach, maybe because of some people that he might team up with, and that is a real possibility. But outside of that, if there is nobody else, who am I supposed to vote for Bulaba, or is it Atiku that will now queue behind in 2020 if there were to be an election today? But I actually think that our discussions of election today is actually a disservice to ourselves, because we really cannot speak in terms of an election in our current circumstances.
I'm imagining that
an election in the face.
Yeah, that those who are defecting to the APC, and in their numbers, the girl of defection we saw in Delta said a whole state structure moved to the APC, and those in the APC will say this is a signal that the APC is the sweet and the beautiful bride that is attracting a lot of people from the outside. And at some point, the APC had said, it's a performance of the government of the day, and things are getting better. And that is why the platform is looking so beautiful for others to join.
Oh, is that a question?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I mean, in the manner you spoke about the defection.
Look, Sheil, let's get something clear. Nigerian politicians have never had differences between them. It is the people who have required unification. Nigerian politicians are as united as they have ever been, and in recent times, they've more or less become as one. It is the people who have been divided into multiple bits. What you are saying today is the realization that you need to align with the behemoth in the land. And that is why you are seeing parties, or let me say, you're seeing entire state structures of the PDP who understand that that corrupt power that has now been captured by the APC is not going to be dropped unless the people become involved and become factors in the electoral process. As long as a Yakubu Mahmoud or whoever is selected to replace him has the capacity to be telling Nigerians to go to court when it declares the election result in the middle of the night, the PDP and all the other power-hungry people would jump into the APC boat because they want second terms and they don't want prosecution or persecution. You and I were in this country, I might even have been on your show, when Oshie Omole declared to the hearing of all Nigerians, join the APC and your sins will be forgiven. The average Nigerian politician is a crook. He needs his sins forgiven. So he will jump into the place where he has been assured that his sins will be forgiven. Not only will his sins even be forgiven, he might be persuaded that INEC will work for him. The judiciary will do his bidding because the levers of powers in the hand of the APC will be made available to those who are in compliance with the APC. So that people are moving into the APC is not a surprise to me. It is normal. Question is, what has the APC done for us? Is it the economy that has become better? Is it security that has gotten better? Is it fuel that is more available and cheaper? What is it? Is it infrastructure? Is it corruption that has subsided? Nigeria has been taken to the land of no return by the APC, almost completely destroyed to its root. But politicians are aligning because for them it's about capturing the public purse. It's about acquiring a license for impunity. It's about ensuring that nothing will happen to them regardless of whatever crimes they might commit. So if they are moving...
Quickly, we need to wrap up now. And my final question to you would be, you've described what seems to be a very bleak future or a bleak situation of a country. A nation that's supposed to have to be a great example for the rest of the world. But those who believe in this country, who think that this country is great and can be greater actually. But in your own description and your disappointment, perhaps in 60 seconds or less, what do you think, where do you think we can go from here? And what do you think are the answers to the nagging questions?
See, the only thing that can save Nigeria is that it does a course correction. Walk away from the abyss that it is continually toying with. You cannot rule a country with impunity and expect that country to develop or to have peace. Nigeria has been locked into this vicious cycle of impunity for the last 10 years. The PDP was bad, yeah, but the APC, they've been disastrous for Nigerians because it's just been a licensing board for impunity, corruption, the worst kind of brigandage that you can imagine, and Nigeria is dying on its watch. So if we are going to do a course correction, it will be because we went back to a system that allows the law to rule, not the will of men or their whims. That is the only thing that can save us. Outside of that, it's just a matter of time. Nigeria will die if it continues like this.
Dele Farotimi, should I call you a man that has lived 21 days in prison, political?
No, it's sufficient. No, it's sufficient. You can just call me the senior accused of Nigeria.
All right.
Dele Farotimi.
Lawyer, author, and political activist. Thank you so much indeed. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Retired lawyer. Thank you. Pleasure is all mine.
Your number, your roll number is still at the Supreme Court. Either you leave it or take it. All right, thank you so much indeed. We're going to break everyone, but when we return, our attention is going to be on the alleged discrepancies in the disbursement of the Tinubu loan, the student loan fund. We'll be asking critical questions really how many billions or millions are missing? Who stole the money? Is there a thief in this, and who are the people to bear the brunt of it? We're asking very critical questions on this matter from the MD of the NELFUND after this break. Thank you so much, everyone. On this segment of the program, we are looking for the money, the stolen one. Who stole the money? That's a big question, isn't it? So let's get a bit of a background. When the student loan fund kicked off, a lot of Nigerians applauded the initiative as one that will help more students live the dream of going and even, in fact, staying in school. But there were those who had doubts as to how that initiative can be effectively driven, considering the disease that we have always seen befalling many schemes of this nature, where the monies end up in personal pockets of those who just wanted to take those money and steal them and use them for personal purposes. And the issue of corruption overwhelming the whole idea. So recently, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences, ICPC, says it has commenced an investigation into discrepancies in the disbursements of the student loan, saying 71 billion naira has been unaccounted for in the scheme. ICPC's move came after reports that some institutions were involved in illegal deductions and exploitations related to the student loans scheme under the Nigeria Education Loan Fund, NELFUND. The schools were alleged to have made illegal deductions ranging from 3,500 to 30,000 from each student's institutional fees obtained via the NELFUND, prompting ICPC to begin an investigation into the matter. The commission says its preliminary findings reveal that while the federal government released 100 billion for the scheme, only 28.8 billion was disbursed to students, leaving 71.2 billion unaccounted for. Worried by this development, the National Association of Nigerian Students vowed to protest the alleged discrepancy. The National Orientation Agency was one perhaps who voiced out first, alleging that certain schools, conniving with some banks, delayed payments to students who qualified for loans so they could make money off the situation. The ICPC then came out to clarify that there are no discrepancies in the disbursement of loans by the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, NELFUND, and this was captured in a statement released by the spokesperson of the commission. Not long after, the ICPC retracted its earlier claim of discrepancies in the disbursement of the student loans under the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, NELFUND. ICPC Director of Public Enlightenment and Education, Demola Bakare, issued a retraction in a revised statement just hours after the Commission's earlier update suggested that discrepancies were already established in the student loan disbursements. Well, to shed more light on this, and let's ask the man whom the President and the government has handed over the 100 billion to let us know where the 71 billion is and who has stolen the money, where the 28 billion is, who has received the money. Mr. Akintunde Sawyer is the Managing Director of the NELFUND. Thank you so much, Mr. Sawyer, for joining us tonight.
A very good evening to you, Mr.
Is there a Ghana must go where the money is at? Because we're still looking for the money.
We're looking for this so-called money. But
who stole the money, Mr. Sawyer?
So first of all, let me be very clear. No money has been stolen. The President, in his wisdom, in a well-intentioned program, decided that he was going to set up the Nigeria Education Loan Fund, a very bold and courageous move to secure the future of Nigeria through the majority of the people in this country who are the youth. This scheme is supposed to protect the interest of young people who want to attend and get the very best education from tertiary institutions. So the funds that we've been given is to bridge the gap for those who don't have the money to be able to attain the education. No money is missing. No money has been stolen. There've been some issues with what happens at the phase of this where human intervention comes in.
So let's break it down. So I don't want Nigerians to be taken for granted tonight. And I like us to really deal with the matter because it involves about 71 billion naira that we're talking about. Did the MD of National Orientation Agency meet with you some weeks back about the reports from the other local levels brought to him as to how some universities and some banks are conniving to delay? It was first the issue of delay in the disbursement of the funds. But later on, there are issues as to where the funds were. Did you meet with Mr. Onilu?
So I meet with Mr. Oniru regularly, but the conversation you're referring to took place on the telephone. But let me go back and just continue to correct this misconception. 71 billion is not missing.
Okay,
it is.
Let's break it down. No. So, so I wanted us to go into the bits and pieces of it, so that Nigerian viewers who are watching us tonight can understand. Has there been a disbursement of 100 billion?
No.
How much has been disbursed? Okay,
so first of all, let me tell you, we've received not even 100 billion. The Nigeria Education Loan Fund has received about 203 billion naira.
203? Okay.
203 billion. I'll break it down for you. 10 billion from appropriation, from the Office of the Minister of Finance, through the Office of the Accountant General, 50 billion from the EFCC, proceeds of crime, 143 billion from TET Fund. So you can see already the actual amount received is actually in excess of what's even been said to have been received. Of that, 54 billion has been disbursed to date. 30 billion of that has gone to institutions. 24 billion has gone to upkeep. So there's a pocket money side to this. So that's 54 billion disbursed.
Already in the space of about a year?
In the space of about 11.5 months.
Okay. So 54 billion out of 243.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
So we have left...
Sorry, not 243.
You said two...
So no, I broke it down.
Yeah, 10 billion,
50 billion, 143 billion.
143.
Yeah, that doesn't come to 243.
No, so it's 60 plus 143, that's 203, thereabout.
Correct.
All right. 203 billion,
yes.
That is the total amount that has been given to NELFUND.
Absolutely.
Out of which 54 billion has been disbursed. So you have in excess of about 140 billion.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Now, in that 140 billion, where is the controversy? I suppose that it is in the, because the 140 billion or thereabout is in the bank at the moment.
Correct.
Right?
It's in the
your
central
account.
bank. It's in the central bank. It's in NELFUND account in the Central Bank of Nigeria.
All right. So the problem is with the 54 billion.
What's the problem with the 54 billion?
Has there been any issue, complaints to your office about delay in disbursement from the school side to the student side?
Okay, so let me correct a misconception there. There is no disbursement from the NELFUND account through the schools to the students. The NELFUND money goes to the schools for their tuition or their institutional charges. The schools are supposed to give unfettered access to the students for classes. The schools do not disperse to the students, except in the case where the student has already paid their fees, in which case there's been a double payment. So the student has paid their fees, NELFUND has paid their fees, there's a double payment to the school, there should be a disbursement back, effectively a refund to the student. In certain cases, that hasn't happened. The students are not receiving the refund. So NELFUND has paid, they should get something back. The schools are not refunding them funds. That's a serious problem. Because the whole idea of
how much of these cases do you have?
Well, we think this is happening in about 30 or so institutions. But we're receiving...
For about how many students? 30 institutions?
Well, there's an investigation going on. Because it's very difficult for the students sometimes to come out and say that this is happening because they feel afraid that it might compromise their education. So there's a very careful, meticulous investigation going on to try to understand where this is happening and how it's happening. Some of the schools, as a result of this brouhaha, have started making those refunds available. But it's not acceptable. Students should not be exploited in this way. The other issue is that in certain cases we've also had information, and this is where the conversation between myself and the DG of the Nigerian Orientation Agency happened on the telephone. When they went out to try to understand what's going on with the students' loan scheme and how the students were perceiving it, they had specific information that seemed credible from some students to say, look, we applied for the loan, we haven't received value, or we're getting instructions from our school to make additional payments because there's a deadline to be met, even though on their dashboard it says that they've been paid or the school has been paid. So there have been these issues, these sort of suspicions that there's something going on. That has led to an investigation trigger by the ICPC. I can also tell you that the Honourable Minister for Education, who takes this very seriously, has also waded in to say that there will be administrative sanctions There's some investigation going on at the ministry level as well, and we're collaborating in both.
Have you been called by the ICPC for questioning?
No.
Were you called?
Of course not.
Was there any investigation on the NELFUND?
Look, this is an investigating agency. They have the right to investigate anything and anybody.
Have they done the due diligence on your institution to know whether or not you are culpable at your institution side?
We've been working with the ICPC way before this issue came up. Remember, this is a country where quite rightly people petition. There have been lots of petitions from students over the last few months to say, what's going on? I haven't received my upkeep, I haven't received my institutional fees. We've been collaborating as partners with the ICPC for several months. It's not just something that emerged
So
today.
to be clear tonight, you've broken it down, how much has been disbursed, how much you have, and I want to understand tonight, and we will get to how people can access the process and get the funds. You're saying if anybody applies for the loan, it's for your school fees, you apply, if it's been granted by NELFUND, the NELFUND pays directly the institution, either a college of education, a polytechnic, or a university. That's how it's been done, right?
Absolutely. When the student applies for the institutional charge or the institutional fees, we collate that information from all the applications. We bring it all together for a specific institution. Because remember, these people are applying randomly. We bring it together for a specific institution. We compile the names once we've verified and checked that these are bona fide applications. We send that list to the institution. The institution confirms that these are indeed their students and that the fees are indeed the correct fees. If they're not, they make the corrections and make a declaration back to us. At that point, we remit to the bank account of the institution. I'll make something clear to you. If it's a federal government-owned institution, those funds go into a TSA account because the institutions that are owned by the federal government are obliged to use TSA. In other instances, for example, at the state level, the state-owned institution, we make it payable to their bank account. It could be a TSA, could be a commercial account. We are not involved in that banking process in itself, but we make the funds available. Two things we do, though. First of all, we make sure that the student knows that the funds have been remitted to their institution so that they can actually attend lectures, tutorials, seminars, classes, examinations. We make it clear to them that funds have been paid. And we make it very clear in our instructions to the institution that these funds are to give the students unfettered access to class.
Quickly, Mr. Sawyer, because what you're trying to describe tonight is the process is far and above individuals or ends of individuals in school. It goes straight to the pocket of the school without, it shouldn't have been, there should be any human interaction.
Correct.
With the
and there's a digital footprint. So every single transaction has a digital
footprint. On
footprint.
The back end, from your end?
Yes, because it's a banking transaction, we don't touch any cash.
And so this is where I'm worried.
Not just from our end, all the way through the banking system.
This is where I'm worried. If you say, and your agency maintains that NELFUND has a zero human interface and a fully automated process, if that's the case, how did about 51 institutions allegedly manage to make unauthorized deductions from student fees, allegedly ranging between 3,500 and 30,000? How did that happen?
So, look, at some point in this process, there has to be human interface. The point at which we make the remittances to the institutions are then in control, to a degree, of the funds. And what they have to do is ensure that the students have control over their ability to be able to access classes. At some point, that interaction takes place, but not at the point where money is changing hands. The issue we have here is that the institutions, and I made this very clear earlier, the institutions in some cases, and I don't believe it's 51, I think the evidence that I've seen is that it's probably somewhere in the range of 30. But you know what? This is something that could trend. The numbers could go up, so we want to nip it in the bud. But the institutions at that point are the ones who are supposed to ensure that their side of the bargain is met. We are going to, and we've been doing this for some time, we're going to continue to improve our systems to ensure that the students have unfettered access to classes. It's important to remember that some students are reluctant to actually speak out. On the issue of deductions, I made it clear earlier, schools are sometimes saying to the students, you have a deadline to meet. if you don't meet that deadline, we're going to stop you from coming to class, even though they've already received the funds from NELFUND. That's where these deductions are happening, where the students are being told they're being set an artificial deadline that if they don't pay, they can't attend classes.
And they have to pay again. Well, and so the monies that were paid already, someone gets it.
Well, it's under investigation. We need to understand why people are holding money back or holding access to classes back from those we've already paid for.
You have been, there is a statement attributed to you that some of the monies or disputed funds come from education financing initiatives that predate the NELFUND era. Is that right?
I don't recall ever making that statement.
Are there any issues relating to funds exchanging hands when the investigation started? And it does look like there are funds, that are issues with funds. And you said that some of these funds are not really the ones disbursed by the NELFUND, but it predated NELFUND. Is there any time you said that?
Of course not. Okay. Certainly not. What may have been misunderstood, there are people who took loans in the 70s who have gone to pay back to NELFUND. Okay, so, but even those funds, we don't have an account to receive them, okay? But that may be the issue, but the funds that we are expending are entirely from the sources that I described to you earlier. There are no supplementary funds that we're receiving from anywhere else.
Has there been any resignation within the NELFUND since this investigation started?
Why would there be resignation?
Maybe some people who felt they have some questions to answer.
Why would anybody resign?
I'm asking, is there any?
No, of course
you are the
not.
MD, so you should know.
No, I know the answer to the question. I'm asking you, why would anybody resign?
So there hasn't been any
There hasn't been a single resignation as a result of this or any other issue.
Given the scale of this controversy, Mr. Sawyer, how confident are you that NELFUND will survive public trust test and stay positioned to support millions of Nigerian students going forward? Because it's supposed to be to assist the student and fix the plight of those who cannot pay for indigent students. But it does look like there's a big distrust gap in the system already.
So, look, the trust gap between the citizen and government has been in place for many decades. Citizens in Nigeria have tended not to trust government. This administration, the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, is in many ways trying to address legacy issues around trust. The NELFUND is one such example. This promise was made that students would receive funds. They would receive funds for their education. 293,000 Nigerian students have received benefit from NELFUND directly if they've applied for the upkeep loan, indirectly if they've applied for the fund, the education part of it alone.
Let me ask you a question. And this is a parent. This is a parent.
Sure,
just a moment.
Okay.
This is and this is a direct feedback.
Yes.
And I don't know why NELFUND is unable to publish the names of institutions who are found culpable in some of these issues. This is a parent who wrote to me right as we're talking. He said, I deliberately asked 2 of my 3 children studying at the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, for the purpose of monitoring and ensuring transparency. Both individuals were duly verified and approved for the loan more than 8 months ago. However, as of this morning, neither the monthly stipend nor the tuition fees have been disbursed. Furthermore, no single student at OAU Ife, to the best of my children's knowledge, has confirmed receipt of the loan.
So, you know, you've cited an example of unnamed people at an institution that you have named. Until I get full information about the circumstances that you just described, I can't possibly comment on it. I'm very happy for us to look into it. There are a number of investigations going on. I suggest and I advise that that parent write either to the Ministry of Education, to myself, or the ICPC, and raise it as a petition, because we're clearly bound to have some accusations that are either unjustified or incorrect, some that are justified and quite correct, but it needs to be brought to our attention. There are 293,000 people who are benefiting from this today directly. Yes, there might be delays. Yes, there might be issues. And I'll tell you what, I empathize with people like this if it's true, because for them, it's 100% chaos. It's hell when you're waiting for school fees or you're waiting for you know, stipends and you don't get it. I don't diminish it using statistics, but I do say You're a lawyer. I know you're a lawyer. When you start talking about allegations and publishing the names of institutions, until we have concrete evidence, we're not going to do that because we don't want to malign anybody. There's nothing worse than accusing somebody of doing something that they didn't do. So we're going to do this properly. We're going to behave here in a civilized manner.
Mr. Sawyer, those pessimists, I call them pessimists because I totally was very happy. If I had the opportunity of this kind of scheme when I was in uni, I'll be very happy because my parents were not buoyant enough. They tried to send us to school, but if they had this kind of leeway, maybe we would have lived better. But now, in closing, those I call pessimists who thought that these monies are going to be stolen, and as soon as the story came out, they said we said it that the monies were going to be stolen. And it was ICPC who came out to say they were investigating. But you are saying there's no money stolen. But there are people who are saying that in the tactics that are playing, as we often say, is how the money is going to be stolen. What can you tell Nigerians tonight? That this is for real. And there is there a portal? If you can name the portal, maybe we can put it on the screen, where they can get it done. And the fact that this is not another means of stealing funds, public funds.
So look, I can speak to the intention of the president. The intention of the president is to provide an equal opportunities platform for Nigerians who want to become the best that they can be by being able to attend tertiary level education. So the intention from the top is that this must work well. The president, in his wisdom, has picked a team, okay? And today we report through the Ministry of Education that is totally focused on the proper implementation of every scheme under the Ministry of Education. So I'm only going to speak for that. NELFUND is one such scheme. We've been very transparent about publicizing and promoting and pushing all the data that we get, who we pay, when we pay them, their responses to us. We've been very, very deliberate about being transparent. And that is probably the greatest legacy that this president is going to leave, that he's set up a program that is going to spread transparency across this country. To the pessimists, get on the boat, because this is a real opportunity. Support the scheme, make it work for Nigeria.
Dele Sawyer is the managing director of Nigerian Education Loan Fund, NELFUND, the initiative under the Tinubu government, which is law, by the way, whether the Tinubu government goes or comes.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight.
Thank you for having me. Will you have me back?
We'll keep our eyes on the,
let's do that.
On the money. Thank you so much. That's our show for tonight. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimale. God bless Nigeria.